very much for staying on the program. Now, prices of petroleum products would go up by between 15 and 20% on July 1, and sources say the percentage increase for the various petroleum products would only be determined on the last day of this month. The National Petroleum Authority and transport organizations have agreed that transport fares should also go up by at least 20% to reflect the increase in the prices of petroleum products. International crude oil price hit $120 per barrel last Friday, and then this has been triggered by the crisis in Iraq, the free fall of the city, as well as importation of emergency cargo. Bulk oil distribution companies last week warned of a looming shortage of fuel owing to the fact that government was unable to pay them monies owed. Right, and so you should expect fuel prices to go up. In the meantime, let's get into other matters. Now, members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association have closed their shops in Accra. The closure is to protest what they have described as unfavorable government policies. The protest, which is scheduled to go on in both Accra and Kumasi, is expected to last for 3 days. We'll bring you an update on that in the course of the program when I'm joined by Abigail Adumaku-Enchi, who's visiting some of the areas to be affected by the closure. I understand Abigail is over the telephone now. We could talk to her. Hello, Abigail.
Hello.
Oh, obviously that is not Abigail, and would put Abigail over the telephone to give us an update on the situation. But you recall that Monday on the program we spoke to Guta and why they would want to embark on this. They outlined a number of issues, including the government's inability to remove foreign retailers from the markets, 2.5% VAT increment. They've also indicated a 2% and an additional 1% import levy they say is adversely affecting their business. They also identified illegal charges and delays at the ports as some of the government policies they are unhappy with, and hence their desire to embark on this shop closing exercise. So they have decided to close down their shops in both Accra and Kumasi, and they're thinking it will last for 3 days. Now, also, you recall that they mentioned they will take matters into their own hands if after 3 days government does not heed to any of their calls. Abigail Adumaku-Enchi is a Joy News' business reporter, and she has joined me now over the telephone. Hello, Abigail. Hello, Abigail. Well, we do not have Abigail. We'll put that away. When we do, we will bring back the story. Now, gone by, we've looked at CAT's image cleansing, where they have decided that they will change procedures at the hospital to make sure that the issues we've seen with the missing baby scandal will not be repeated. And they have also denied reports that they are asking the orderly to take full responsibility of the missing stillborns and be made to produce the bodies of these babies. We've also looked at match fixing investigation, where the Ghana Football Association has said it will haul the Daily Telegraph to a UK court over the allegations that the FA president had agreed to match fixing. But let's go back to our issue on the Ghana Union of Traders Association, who have decided to close out their shops over the next 3 days because they are unhappy with government policies. Abigail Adumakoyenchi is joining us as business reporter, and she's joined me via telephone. Abigail. Abigail, can you hear me?
Hello, Camille.
Tell us what you have seen.
Hello, Camille.
Yeah, I'm asking you. Tell us what you have seen, where you've been.
Okay, I'm currently at the Central Business District of Accra, and I can say confidently that majority of the shops here have been closed down as the Ghana Union of Traders Association has directed its members to do. But there are others who have also opened theirs. I'm trying to get them to speak, but they are very hesitant because of the issues surrounding the whole matter. But from the Ghana Union Traders Association, the economic hardship is just too much for them, and they have petitioned the government several times, and government is not heeding to their calls. They want inflation to come down. The depreciation of the cedis has just eating into their capital, and it's making business so difficult for them. So they have closed down their shops just to let government know that they cannot take this anymore. But for those who have opened, they talk to me often. They tell me that if they do not come to work, how will they survive? Looks like there are two different groups. Some who would want to work for the little money, and others who would want to go through the hard times now just to get their concerns addressed in the long term.
So tell me about buyers who had gone there to patronize, the worst of these persons.
Well, the business is so big, and even without the shop, you still get goods to buy. Because now it's giving the hawkers the advantage over those in the shop. There are lots of hawkers here, and for the shops that have been closed down, those on the streets are taking over the pavement, they're taking over the front of those shops. So if even you do not get the shop to buy in, you realize that there are hawkers all over with so many goods. I mean, all the goods to think of. So it's not really a bother to buy it, except of course the very goods that you cannot get from hawkers, but you would have to go into a shop. That's what has become very difficult. But for a lot of buyers, you'll have to deal with the hawkers here.
I see. Abigail, I'm going to have you hold the line. I have Guta on the other phone. We'll speak to the Guta rep briefly. Hello? Right. Okay, then. Abigail, I understand it isn't a Guta rep, and so we'll move on with our conversation. Tell me, what sort of shops have closed down?
It's a combination of a number of shops. We have those selling clothes, we have those selling bags, dresses, cosmetics, a number of shops. I could go on and on, actually, but it's a combination of a number of shops. We cannot go on and on about it.
Right.
What I can say is that
thank you very much for that information, Abigail. Abigail Adumakoyenchi, she joined us from the Central Business District of the capital, and she says that indeed members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association have closed down their shops in protest of unfavorable government policies, as they call them. And well, she also says that it may not necessarily be a bother to buyers because they can get alternatives from shops that have opened. Now let's go back to the telephone. We'll talk about fuel price now. I was telling you earlier that effective June 1, fuel price may go up by between 15 and 20%. But what would its implication be as far as transport is concerned? Robert Saba is Greater Accra chairman for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. Thank you very much for your time, Robert.
Oh, thank you too.
Robert, so this time you're seeing a 15 to 20% increase in fuel price.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you want to say something?
oh, go on, go on.
What should commuters expect?
Oh, well, I am not aware of any income increment. What I knew of, there is this bi-weekly increment, and if you can recall, as of May, when the increment was made, and a reduction on May 15th, there has never been any review in the fuel prices, and therefore, I have not had any wind of any increment, and therefore it will be difficult for me to talk about that.
Now, the indication we are picking, or the signals we are picking, is that we are going to see a 15 to 20% increase in fuel price effective July 1. And should this be the case, how is this going to rattle the GPRTU?
Oh, when this increment comes, like you are saying, I'm hearing from you. I'm not aware. But when it comes, definitely we also have to review, the lorry fare.
I see. But you tell me you're unaware of this. Usually when there is an increase, how do you become aware of it?
Oh, well, sometimes we hear from you, the media, men and women.
I see.
Yes. But, we even protested the other time. And this time around, there is this promise that the ministry will meet with, the transport operators. And we also increase our fare, when the increment of the fuel comes, simultaneous.
Tell me something. Doesn't the regulator inform you officially, considering that you usually agree on this? Doesn't the regulator officially inform you of any increase?
Oh, well, like I said, we are, as of now, being informed. Formerly we were not informed, but just recently, there has been, series of meetings between the transport operators and the Ministry of Transport. But, I'm not aware of any increment, income increment as of 1st July.
Right. So what you're saying is that despite your recent meetings with the ministry and the regulator, you haven't had any discussion regarding any fuel price increase?
I am not aware of any increment, as of now. Maybe.
But there could have been, perhaps in meetings you didn't sit through.
Well, I have not, gotten that information yet.
I see. So these meetings had to do with transport fares?
Your question again, please.
I'm asking if the meetings had to do with transport fares.
The meeting, yes, it has to do with transport fares.
And so we are looking into going up on transport fares?
I cannot say for now. We'll cross the bridge when we reach there.
So what exactly about transport fares were we discussing? Perhaps we would want to decrease our fares now?
When will...
Hello, Robert.
Yes. Speak up a little, yes.
I'm asking, what exactly about transport fares were we discussing with the regulator and the transport ministry?
Well, I said I'm not aware of any recent meeting with the transport ministry. I am not aware of any recent one.
Okay, then perhaps we are having different definitions for recent, because I recall that a few minutes back you mentioned that you've been having recent meetings with the Ministry of Transport. When you said recent then, how recent was that?
Oh, I'm referring to, the information that you are saying that, there will be an increment from 1st July. If there has been a meeting in connection with that, I am not aware of it.
So then the GPRTU has not been meeting with the Ministry of Transport?
Not in connection with this recent, in connection with, you know, the increment you are talking about. We have not met at all.
But it was in connection to Transport First.
I am not aware of any meeting.
No, I mean the meeting you held with the Ministry of Transport.
This is what I'm saying. I said previously we held a meeting, but, you know, this very increment, as you are, you know, informing me now, there has never been any meeting, you know, towards this increment. So I cannot talk on that.
Right. We'll leave it here. Thank you very much.
Right,
Robert Saba is Greater Accra chairman for the GPRTU, and he says he's unaware of any increase in fuel price, hence he's unable to tell what we should expect for the that's pretty surprising that the GPRTU is unaware of any fuel price increase when we have been told that effective July 1 we should expect to see fuel price go up at the pump by 15 to 20%. But we'll get to this and then let you know exactly what the gap in communication is here in subsequent broadcasts. Now,